Alright guys, this is the image that we're going to be doing today. I'm going to take you to the process from 3D modeling or 3D posing basically to this final image drawing on Photoshop. So let's go. And right now you can see that I'm using assets. I'm trying not to do all the modeling or anything. In this case, that seahorse was downloaded from the internet. I use a page called TurboSquid for that. And Gravity Sketch, which is the software that I'm using to post these models on VR, it comes with those models. Not these ones though. These houses are basically downloaded from the internet too. You can just find them. They're for free, and some of the stuff you're not going to see it on the final image. It's not going to appear there at all, and you are completely free to do whatever you want with the way that you combine these assets or you make the scenes. As I'm telling you, some of the stuff isn't even going to appear later. I do have a lot of assets that I come to acquire through time. Some of them are bought, some of them are for free, and they are used this way. I'm not using in any other way. Like how to explain that? It's like I'm not trying to get the best thing just to put a texture on it and then use that for rendering. This is just for drawing later on top. So I don't care too much that they don't come with texture. I don't care too much about what the quality of the model it is. Like I don't have to see all the leaves on the trees. I just need a volume that looks like a tree, and that's it. And I do have some of them that look kind of realistic, some of them look cartoony like these ones, but for now it's good enough for what I need, right? So in this approach, you don't have to be like super specific with the models. You have to have the most detailed ones. Actually, having the most, like the best models is kind of like counter productive, I think is the expression, because they get to be very heavy on the scene, and sometimes that is not good, especially using this software like Gravity Sketch or Medium. Other softwares like 3ds Max or Maya or Blender, they can handle complex meshes better, but this one in VR is kind of taxing for this kind of software. So once you put a model that has like more than 700,000 polygons or something, it tends to be really heavy. As you get to 1 million polygons, that it's kind of hard to use, especially if you need to still have stuff to put more stuff on it. Like if you're using those last things for the end, those heavy models for the end, maybe it's not that bad. But if you start your scene with one of those heavy models, then you're basically doomed. So I'm working with what I had. So right now I had to kind of like improvise a little bit, which is fine. Trying to put some stuff here and there that wasn't really didn't exist. These little things that I wanted to do on the ground, like rocks or something, flat rocks. They're just basically done with a volume tool that Gravity Sketch comes with. And yeah, I'm trying to use the stuff that I have at hand, not too much, not creating too much from zero stuff. Not because I can, it's just more like a time constraint that I had for creating this. I didn't want to spend too much on it, and I don't feel like I should spend too much time on it. Like the main thing will be later with drawing, like most of the design aspect of it. Although it's not going to be like a super crazy design or anything, I do wanted it to be like that. Like the most time consuming part was the drawing. So now I take my photo with the Gravity Sketch, and that's what I'm going to use later in Photoshop. As you can see, the editing made it look like it jumped from Gravity Sketch directly to Photoshop, but I assure you it's not like that. You have to find the file later on Documents and then import that to Photoshop so you can use it. And right now I'm debating myself of what's gonna be the way, like the approach to start this. Should I draw this right away, or what should I do, right? So the first thing that comes to my mind is basically just do some sketching, and that's it. And sketching on thick lines is very easy for me. Like it becomes really unstressful when I do line art drawing, like very tight kind of drawings. It's kind of it's not hard, but it's more like you have to be concentrated on what you're doing. You tend to polish things more. So I prefer to do my sketching with a thicker line and not so clean. So I never use like a thin line or any brushes that give me thin lines. I always use this kind of like blocky or even not like nothing with a thin result. It's more like all of it should be loose or either semi-transparent or things like that. That's the way I like to do these sketches. If I do them with a thin line, what's gonna happen is my mind is gonna tell me right away that I'm doing detail. So I'm gonna be tending to start focusing on things that are not really important, like making like several strokes to make a shadow, or like implying things in a different way. So I prefer to sketch like this. And something else that I'm doing, or I'm gonna do, is basically just sketch what's important. And in this case will be the little girl with the carrots and the traveler, and like the mom of the girl, or maybe like the store owner, or whatever is going on with that lady at the right. She's gonna be she had kind of like a too modern pose, so I wanted to make it feel more like like from the field, from the camp. And so I put up like a bag on her hand. Maybe it could be a basket later. Because it was looking way too much like just a normal person in the modern times. And that is basically what I need to start later my drawing. And I for some reason when I'm doing my own comic book outdoor, I tend to do these frames with the drawing coming out of it, and I really like that. So that's part of the things that I'm going to be doing. And then I begin to draw more specifically, concentrating on details and doing more intricate kind of drawing, right? And I like this pencil. So many of you have seen already on my channel. Is that same pencil that kind of looks like a traditional one from far away. Like if you really get to see it, doesn't look too much like that, but it does give the illusion of being like a traditional pencil. And I'm painting some of the cast shadow right away. Some of them could be like off, like they don't actually should look like that or something, but yeah, it's something that it's like evolving. You will see later that I use another technique for casting shadows on most of the elements. I'm not being extremely thoughtful about the design of this. I'm just trying to have fun. That's one of the things that I wanted to do. It's been kind of rough for me lately, creatively, for some reason. So I didn't want to think too much about what's this design going to be like like I didn't want to be too specific on the design of these elements. If I did that, I will have to have done like a concept art for it first, and I didn't want this to feel like doing concept art. I just wanted to draw. And yeah, somebody could say that this is more of the stuff that I already do or did in the past, working on the game that I worked, Ark. It's a creature with reins, but I felt like it was a fun idea to do, and yeah, I like that. I'm glad that I executed on it, because it really got me off my working mind, or my the worries that I had, which is something that I don't tend to talk too much about, like when tasks come too repetitive sometimes, and even though you're doing what you love, what you like, sometimes you feel like this is too repetitive, this is too much, and you really don't know how to feel. you're doing a job that is clearly more fun than other jobs, and still you can feel like drained, or like I don't know, get in a bad mood for doing the same thing over and over again. But that's the job. Like you wouldn't like I guess somebody that works in construction could say exactly the same thing, right? That's the job and you have to do it. That's it. There's no problem. But yeah, sometimes you need a little bit of a space, at least on your mind, and go to these other worlds that, like, if it's gonna make you feel better, I will say do it. Not in a dopamine kind of way, like because I will make me like pursue it all the time, but it's more like some rest. Even though I'm doing the same thing, my mind feels different, like without any pressure, you know. And sometimes I can even go to the zone doing these kinds of things that doesn't have really a deadline, doesn't have really like a weight professionally. It's more like just something for fun. Doing this girl kind of made me jump. As you can see, sometimes I'm using timers to know how much time I'm spending doing something specific. This character really made me think of, man, that ended up looking really well for some reason, and I couldn't find that with the male character that is going to be. You're gonna see later how he looks a bit off, like he's not really realistic looking. And obviously the 3D model that was used as a reference for the girl was better, like it had everything, like a mouth and eyes and everything, so that could be the reason. But it's something. I think it has to do also with how much in the zone you are. In this case, when I was doing her, I was very, very concentrated, and it really made me feel like I was paying attention to what I was doing, and it came out really well. So maybe that's something to do with it. Like, I'm sure it has something to do with it, of course. And I'm trying to jump from different places just to keep it less boring. Trying to apply the detail here and there, not being extremely specific on what areas like make progress. And I started to do this phase, and man, it's really crazy how much you can lose practice on doing phases. Once you have some time doing a lot of something else, you can see how I'm still have so much, I'm lacking so much on anatomy on the faces, even though I did make a course on drawing head anatomy and all that. And it's a bit discouraging, honestly, but I totally understand why it happened. Like I haven't been practicing drawing faces in a long time. I've been doing other stuff, and I just need to get back to it. That's a way to make me, how can I say that, like getting plays again, get like serious with these kind of things again. And I'm gonna try to do more of these kind of projects, these drawings, to force myself to draw more. I wanted to force myself to draw more. And man, this was really eye-opening for me to do this, because it was like, why does it look so bad here and there, and trying to figure out how can you make it look better, because there's nowhere to hide. Sometimes when you're at work, sometimes you use Photobash or try to cut some time doing something either with 3D or something like that. But right now I'm using all my like talent to figure this drawing out, and some of it is not working. So this is an experiment to get to that level again of like in the trenches, like what's the most basic thing. Although people could argue that, yeah, but you didn't do the basic thing. You did a 3D first. I did wanted to try that workflow again. I did it once with the Mandalorian drawing some time ago, and I liked it, but I haven't been able to use it again. I did tried it on my job a little at some point, but it wasn't that effective time-wise. It tends to take a lot of time to do everything in drawing. When you're painting pure color, it's a bit faster to get the ideas out. But these are experiments for drawing again, not for painting. And I do feel like I need that. I do feel like I need to draw, get back to basics kind of stuff, and trying to figure out how to make a good image, or something that looks decent in terms of how finish, just with drawing, without any painting at all. So this is gonna be fun to do those kinds of things. I will also like to hear your feedback, like what do you guys think of doing these kinds of drawings projects? If you have any ideas, you can write them on the comments, like what could I draw later. I've had, let me tell you, when I was thinking about doing this, I had so many ideas that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know I had it still, because when you're working and you're just doing what you're told, basically, receiving instructions, the creativity aspect is like in a backseat. It's still there, it's talking to you, but what's driving the thing is the task that you're doing. So when you're working as a concept artist, you get to be very specific on where to put your time and what you're doing. It's like they ask me to figure this out, that's all I'm going to do. I don't want to do anything else. In this case, I'm basically gonna figure out something and I don't know what it is. So it's kind of like a complete different approach, and I think it's a good exercise for my mind right now to do these kinds of paintings, or drawings. And I will be like doing two things at the same time. I will be kind of like resting my brain, even though I'm doing something. It feels more like resting, and at the same time I will be like exercising that part of it, which is like being creative, like doing stuff from zero without any idea what it was going to be on the beginning. I think like that's really important, honestly. Some areas are still super early, like they have no progress on them at all, and I need to get on that. But something that I did know that I wanted to do is to keep the background very, very light, like without too much detail. I cannot put way too much detail on the background, so because now it becomes like too charged. The image becomes like very complex, and it starts to compete with the characters, and I didn't want that. The main thing will be the characters and the creature, and the background is just a background. It shouldn't matter too much. Same with the, you know, like other stuff that is not going to be on focus, as you would do on a painting or a photo. It will be like that. You will have some elements that are clearly not the main thing that you should be looking at, so they are not that detailed or unfocused. Here, the only thing I can think of is letting them be less detailed, less, or at least having a less marked line art, you know, less intense. Also with the shadowing, I did have some troubles that I had to fix later. You will see a technique later that I use is basically just making black thick areas for cast shadow and then drawing on top of them. But seeing them in black, it makes you think of it more like a shadow instead of just lines. I feel like this kind of technique is really cool for comic books, but it does get to be like way too detailed maybe to at least to make a comic book look be fast, you know, in the creation process. Comic books are very tricky. You have to be very specific about how much time you spend in doing something, because you're gonna spend 2 days in doing just one page, like, or at least you shouldn't. That's the way I'm doing it, but it's because I have no choice. Not even that, sometimes I do like a page a week or every 2 weeks, so I'm not the best to giving advice on comic books, but I know that this way of doing it can be very, very difficult to be so detailed about things. But maybe this can be like a full page, you know, it doesn't have to be like one of the frames. I'm learning that sometimes you need to close up on things a bit so they don't get to be too difficult to draw. And this case is an open scene. There's a lot of detail going on, a lot of things happening on the scene. You need to be open. But if there's a dialogue or something, sometimes you need to close up. You need to be close to the character, so you're not going to be like, there's not going to be so much detail that you cannot advance creating the comic. And this is what I was telling you about. I did this black areas as a cast shadow, and then I'm basically drawing on top of them to get that more comic booky feeling, you know. Some areas need it a lot, some areas doesn't need too much. Just like imply that that's what's going on. And this is basically it. It's already done in my mind. Some stuff needs some correction. At the end, I did add some, like a hat to the traveler, because it didn't make sense. If it's traveling, you should be at least wearing something to protect your head from the sun, and I didn't put that. So yeah. I was really happy with the result. It's very nice to be able to draw these kinds of things. I have time for it also. Not too many people have that advantage. This is it, guys. Let me know what you guys think on the comments. Let me know if you guys have any ideas of what to do on future images. What's the best part that you like of this drawing, and talk to you on the next one. See you guys.